welcome to another FaceHammer book review. Today we're talking all things magical elves.
All things new magical elves.
Yeah. So we've been sent a preview copy of the Lumineth Codex. Thanks, GW. I'm Russ, this is Byron. And if you're new to the channel, we talk through all the rules, our first impressions, try and find little combos or gems, and maybe give opinions on where we think the book's going to land, or
in terms of power level, like how it ranks up against other books, but also how easy it is to use, how easy it is to understand. The books these days have, are they widely referred to as temples? What do we call them? The
great nations, I think.
So in this one, every book's got its own different phrase for which alliance or country or religious belief or whatever it is you can build your army according to. So we'll go into the temples or grain, whatever they call these ones. And each of those tends to have a distinct personality. And these days they're quite different. So you might have a super magic-y one, a super fighty one, a super speedy one, that type of stuff, one that's full of monsters. So we'll go down into those as well. And if you want to lean in one direction, then you'll be able to do so more easily. Listen to this review, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully we're going to cover everything you need to know. Today's pre-order day, so go and get your pre-order now. Don't listen to us, then do it and miss out. So I'm sure there's plenty of stock.
Grab your elves.
If you click through the description to Element, who sponsor the show, it helps us. You get good prices, good customer service. We get 5% kickback. There's a crystal code for extra discount for your Element crystal owning, which then helps me. So yeah, everyone gets helped, which is great.
Especially me. Element are great.
And someone who owns the company on the call probably gets more help than everyone else. But anyway, Lumineth, bit of a strange one because they've had basically the third Battletome in like that many years. It feels like.
Yeah, it does feel like that many because of COVID. So they had like a quarter of a book, then they had very, very swiftly after that a whole of a book, which I think it's probably safe to say. I don't know to speak for you, but I think it's my least favourite book in Age of Sigmar that's been released. It just had far too much going on, and a lot of things just happened once a game, so I ended up with this kind of table that looked like a computer game where I had all of these little tokens to take off once you'd done your things. But hopefully the book's been simplified a little bit and kind of streamlined a bit more to make it
and the army
to play with and against.
Had a very strange reputation because it had
one unit.
Well, no, because basically it broke a lot of the core rules.
It did.
And it also had a lot of special rules. And the term like NPE or non-player experience was kicked around a lot against them. But actually the army itself wasn't podiuming a lot because it's one of those armies that has very bad matchups and is actually quite difficult to use effectively. And if you use it effectively, the other person comes away feeling like they've had a really bad game.
Yeah, it's a very solid 4-on-1 army, wasn't it? I feel, like it falls really specifically into that category. Like you could turn up with one drop, have one plan to do a load of magic your opponent couldn't stop, buff a load of things that were very reliable, and then, pretty much delete your opponent's army. And then maybe you play against one more one drop, which had a similar plan, and they'd be like, I kill Teclis. And your plan wouldn't work. Or, like, I kill that 1.5 units of archers or whatever it was. So the only time that I ever beat them, I turned up with a one-drop army and I charged into them turn one. So
they generally don't like being rushed. So
no, not resilient. But some things are more resilient than you'd expect.
Yeah, especially with the stacking. I can't remember called Aether Quartz. But anyway,
very good spearman.
We're going to go through the books and if highlight changes. Just to caveat this. Well, none of us are particularly fans or experts on Lumineth. I've dabbled a little bit with the Battletome. So I might miss stuff that's changed or important things. You can put that in the comments if you think we've missed something, which is helpful for future people.
Guys, we'll pin it to the sticky so it can be a repository for information. Also, if you're like, this list makes loads of sense now and it didn't before, or, my boys just got amazing, pop a list below that uses them. We'd love to see it. I quite like some of the models and they tend to be the models that we didn't see. Actually, from this book, so I'm excited for change.
I'm really excited to see if the Alarith or the Stone Temple, whatever you want to call them, the kind of the hammer guys and the cows have actually become viable because they kind of weren't, and there were only a couple of lists. Expensive. and with a book with so many war scrolls, the internal balance was so bad that really you only saw a few of them on the table. So hopefully we see an improvement. So let's get into it.
I just want to know what happened to archers, dude.
We'll get there. I think they've been significantly changed.
I hope so. Guess we're going to start with the normal though, all the
we'll go through it in order as it stands. So you've got the great nations that we've already alluded to. We'll go through those when we get to what they actually do. You've got the lightning reflexes rule, which is what they had before. It says during the combat phase, after units with this strike first effect have attacked, when it's your turn to pick a Lumineth Realm Lords unit, you can pick 2 Lumineth Realm Lords units instead of 1. Neither unit can have the strike last effect.
You pick those at the same point. You're like, it's my turn to attack, whether it's your turn and that's the first, or it's your opponent's turn and they've attacked once. And you're like, I'm going to attack with this unit and then this unit. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so you basically say I'm going to activate these 2 units. Sure. One of the important things here is that it's after strike first. So if you have a unit with strike first, you can't piggyback a non-strike first unit at the same time.
No, so you can get 3 in a row, but not 4 in a row.
Yeah, and conversely, if your opponent has made one of your units strike last, you can't negate the strike last by activating another unit and then piggybacking that unit in, which is why that wording's like that.
It's quite nice and clean, actually.
It is, yeah. Since they've actually added the additional steps in the combat phase, it's really clarified the activation wars was the affectionate term being kicked around.
Glad that's in the rear view.
Yeah. You've got Aether Quartz, which you start with 1 on each unit, and once per phase, you can say 1 unit will use its reserve on one of the following reserve abilities. However, if you do, subtract 1 for the bravery for the rest of the battle. I think these are the same. So you've got +1 to save, +1 to hit, and then 1 to cast or re-roll the casting roll. So
I mean, they're pretty decent, really, aren't they? So do you get to be like, my cast failed, I'm burning this, or do you have to burn it in preparation for it?
You can use this ability after it has been attempted to cast a spell, but before unbinding. So if you rolled, say you need a 6 and you rolled a 5, you go, I'll make that a 6. Or if you rolled like a double 1, you go out, or I'll re-roll that. So it's
super efficient. Like getting to not have to commit to that. Also, the fact that it's every phase is way more powerful than a load of other stuff, or any phase rather, because if someone's got an ability that smashes you in their hero phase and you're in combat, you can just spend it. It's not like other
it's not like you can't activate all-out defense.
Exactly, yeah.
And conversely, in combat, you could activate this and all-out defense because they're not command abilities. So the Aether Quartz Reserve has also always been one of the most powerful things in the Lumineth army because you only really need that turn or 2 of it, and then you've already up enough that it doesn't matter for the rest of the game.
Kind of reminiscent of Teach, this book, in an orderly way rather than a chaotic way, isn't it? Well, this resource is very strong. You get to spend it when you need it.
I guess that's why they're in the battle box together. They're meant to be diametrically opposed, however we want to say it. Then we've got then we've got command traits. Now, probably it's worth talking about the sort of the structure of Lumineth. So you have what we call Vanari, Sinari, Wind Mages, and Stone Mages. So you've got like the different temples. So the Lords of Stone are kind of your guy with the hammers, the cows, the mountains. Your Wind Mages are like the kangaroos, those kind of guys. The guy on the cloud, those chaps.
Everything with move 16 or 14.
The Scenario, like the female kind of hero characters, the sort of the magic mystical ones, and the Vanari are kind of your more martial, sort of old school silver helm type stuff. So your Dawn Riders, your Sentinels, your things like that. So it's just important for people who don't know that's the difference between these. And obviously, one command trait can be added to your army depending on who your general is. So that immediately is going to mean there's going to be lots of these to talk through because we've got 4 different temples in one book. So it's like, you've bought 3 different temples and extra heroes with different things. So
and then you've got 5 different temples. Slots.
Yeah.
Should we start with the Vanara heroes then? Or?
Yes. So you can take Grand Strategist, which is add 1 to the roll to determine whether you get a command point if you carry out heroic leadership. So you kind of have to be doing your heroic action with that hero, and it's +1. I don't see that being played, to be honest.
Well, maybe it depends how resilient your general is, but that's putting your eggs very solidly in the basket, isn't it? And not taking something else for that price.
I think Master of Magic would just be more powerful on a wizard, basically.
So, yeah, definitely.
Consummate Warrior, once per turn, you can reroll 1 hit or 1 wound roll for an attack made by the general, or 1 save roll for an attack that targets the general, which is pretty good.
It's quite good. It's flexible. That's ors rather than ifs, which is a golden rule of goodness.
Almighty Blow. When you fight, instead of piling and attacking, say to unleash a single blow, pick an enemy unit within 1 inch, roll a dice on 2+, takes d6 mortal wounds.
I mean, it's all right.
Yeah, it depends, because if you're in combat, you might be a fighty hero, and then if you're
if you're less good at fighting, right?
Yeah, probably, and then you only can put it on the martial heroes. So yeah. Then we've got the Sonari heroes. You've got Spellmaster. Once per battle, the general may use magical boost Aether Quartz reserve ability without spending Aether Quartz. So
reliable.
And then you've got the 2 extra spells.
Great. Depending on the law.
Yeah. So then we've got Fast Learner. So the general can unbind 1 extra spell in the enemy hero phase, and in addition, the second time he attempts to unbind, you may reroll the unbind.
Well, I'm not ever allowed to take that one. It's not applicable to me.
Is it just because it's like... Because the problem is you can't reroll the first attempt. So if you unbind the spell and you fail it, you can't reroll it, because the second one you can reroll.
Hashtag awkward. Yeah. I would find that irritating.
Yeah.
In battle. So that would wind myself up if I were to take that one. So I think it would.
Yeah. There'll be that time when you would need to reroll the first roll, and then the second roll you don't need to, and then you're annoyed because you didn't do anything really.
Yeah, and then I'll make a bad decision because I'm a child. So let's just hedge that off before we come to it.
And then we've got the Wind Mages. So replace the general's Wind Leap ability. So if a friendly Wind Charge unit starts to move wholly within 24, when that unit makes a move, it can move 16 and fly. So we'll get onto that later. So I don't know what that does at the moment, but it's changing.
Already it sounds fairly good, right?
Yeah, he probably has that ability, and it's within a smaller distance, and it does increase the distance. I'm guessing. We'll find out later.
Movement is movement. It's not going to not be good, I don't feel.
Well, Swift, add 3 to the general's move.
Movement is good.
That's probably good. And then you've got Gravity Defying Champion. Once per turn, you can reroll 1 run, charge, and 1 casting roll for the general. That's very good.
Once per battle.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Once per battle.
It's still great, right?
Yeah. You're just going to take Master of Magic, aren't you? So.
Yeah, props. Yeah.
Then you've got Lords of Stone, tectonically attuned. Start your shooting phase. You can pick a Spirit of the Mountain within 3. Add 1 to the attacks of that unit's geometric blast, which I guess is a shooting attack.
Yeah, quite restricted though. Like you have to be playing. I guess it's thematic. You got to be playing in a fortress with this dude within a very small distance of that dude.
I think they've already got a rule that encourages them to be next to a cow anyway. I think there's something, if I remember correctly.
Friends.
Yeah. Enduring, add 3 to your wounds. That's always decent.
I mean, that's really good. Yeah. Depending on and that is better depending on the quality of those wounds. So if you've got a decent save, it's even better. If you've got an after save, it's even better.
And then Unyielding Toughness. At the start of your hero phase, pick a Stone Guard unit whole within 6. Add 1 to the wounds character to that unit until next phase. That's just gonna be what you pick.
I mean, don't roll a dice. Wait, wholly within is actually you got to be like right up their butt.
Yeah,
like behind them in a little crescent.
But he does fly, so.
Oh yeah, he can get there, but that's gonna maybe restrict the size of the unit you could take or the shape. So I guess maybe reach would be a thing, but not in this edition of the GHB. We'll find out. Obviously extremely powerful though. Not rolling a dice for that is great.
Well, it just gives you basic extra wounds in the unit, like just solid.
Twice as good on something that's already pretty good. Yeah, that could be a battle line unit as well, I'm guessing.
Normally the Stone Guard are, if you've got a Stone Mage or whatever they're called, General. So
sweet. Obvious winner.
Then we've got artifacts, so we're into, again, we've got the 4 different pots, so to speak. So we've got the Sari Pummel. You get 1 extra Aether Quartz, which is just good, really. Because you've got Run and Charge, which is also strong.
Depending on how you're using or tooling him out, yeah, absolutely.
Once per battle, in your movement, instead of placing and making a normal move, you can pick a point in the battlefield within 12, remove it from the battlefield, set them up within 1 inch of that point, and more than 3 from enemy units. I mean, he's probably going to move that anyway, so
you could hop over stuff.
Yeah,
there's no restrictions, is there? You could get behind stuff. You get behind your stuff.
What's quite nice about that is you can. It's instead of making a normal move. So can you make a normal move if you're in combat? Can you could you remove yourself from a fight you didn't want to be in?
I feel like no. In your movement phase, instead of making a normal move, you can't make a normal move if you're in combat.
No, I don't think it's a retreat move, right?
Yeah. But I mean, it's still. I think that's probably one of the ones that looks a bit less sexy than it could do, but is quite competent. You could do quite a lot with that if that character's really important to your army or your strats.
I'd just rather have the extra Aether Quartz, I think. Less mental load of something that might or may not be good at a certain point.
You might not get to use it, yeah, for sure. Which one could keep you alive, potentially?
Yeah, I have an extra all-out defense, please.
Yes.
So then you got the Phoenix Stone. Once per battle, before you allocate a wound or mortal wound to a friendly Lumineth Realm Lords hero within 12 of the bearer, and that wound or mortal wound could cause that hero to be slain, roll a dice. On the 3+, the wound or mortal wound is negated, and you heal D3 wounds to that hero. Any wounds remain to allocate are negated, so it stops you dying, basically.
Is this only if it's like let's say, so he's got 1 wound left in this scenario I'm trying to work out, and he's about to be hit with 3 wounds. Like, do you...
To say you've got Techless...
It's only work if it's 1 damage and it's 1 wound remaining.
No, it works all the time. So basically, because you allocate wounds 1 by 1, so say you've got Techless and he takes 30 wounds.
Yeah.
You would go, I'm going to use this, roll a dice on a 3+. He basically stays there with D3 wounds. So it's like an auto, you don't kill him, and he has D3 wounds left.
A wound or mortal wound.
Yeah. And it says at the bottom, any wounds that remain to be allocated are negated.
Oh god! So like you've got 1 wound left, and you'd be hit with a damage 6 attack, and you roll 3+, and you get D3 wounds, and you're fine.
Yeah.
End of. Okay. Yeah. Strong.
Yeah. So you basically end up with either 1, 2, or 3 wounds remaining and not dead.
Cool. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, not even wholly within either, and it's 12, so that's not particularly restrictive.
Lumineth Realm Lords hero. So
no, yeah, not.
If you're taking Techless, you're taking that.
Probs.
Well,
absolutely,
because it's just an activation, isn't it? So if they've got a big blob of guys, I mean, like you've played Techless, you've got a big unit in, you attack, you kill him, he's not dead, he has a go. Suddenly it's like, well, he could just retreat, do blah blah blah.
If someone's attacked you with only 1 thing and it's a high quality thing, you're going to feel pretty cheeky about that, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Then you've got Silver Wand. The bearer can attempt to cast 1 extra spell.
Strong.
Yeah, I mean, extra cast is good. Rune of Sephi, I don't know.
Synthoi.
+1 to unbind dispel for each friendly scenario hero within 6 of the bearer.
Potentially strong, right?
Yeah, but you get like 1 unbind, and then scenario heroes aren't really ones you take multiple of. So I think you've got like the Kaflar, and I think the new one. But so like, and they're expensive. So like, you're gonna get more than +2, and you got to be within 6. It's like, sounds great, but I just don't think it is. honestly. Tell me I'm wrong. You will, I know. Then you've got the Wind Mage ones. So you've got the Wind Blast fan. Once the battle starts, the enemy movement phase, you can pick an enemy unit within 3. That unit must retreat. I really like that one.
That's pretty cool. It's unique as well, isn't it, right?
Yeah.
You pay a lot for...
It's nice because you can do stuff like have a unit of like guys and you're just behind the front rank within 3, but not... You can't really be hit, and then you just go, yeah, go away.
And they can't charge because they've retreated.
Yeah.
So just poof.
Obviously, Nighthaunt give no shits, but you know,
yeah,
a lot of armies do. You know, imagine like on a Mega Gargant or something.
Oh, grim!
I mean,
absolutely grim. Yeah.
So you're even going to start going, oh, I probably need to attack that Wind Mage, but like you don't really want to waste.
It's got a shooting attack as well. Like it does far more than, because retreat has so much other stuff tied into it. Like you can't shoot.
Well, that's the other thing you could do. You could fly your Wind Mage into a missile unit, survive, and be like, well, you'd have to retreat, and now you're not shooting. So
yeah, it's pretty strong actually. And it's not like they struggle to get around the table. They're speedy boys.
I think they're like speed 16.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So them clouds.
Yeah. Plus, it's a really cool model. I know you hate it, but there you go. And you've got the Windstone. Once per battle in the enemy shooting phase, pick an enemy unit of an 18 that's visible. Roll a dice on a 1 mortal wound, 2 to 4 2 mortal wounds, on a 5+4 mortal wounds. Nah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, the more pokes and little rangy things you've got in your army, the more each one is worth, because they can stack up to greater effects, or you can be more reliable, or you have more options. And 18 inches is pretty, it's pretty decent.
And it's not a shooting attack, so you're not restricted by like Deepkin, you can't shoot me, or look out, sir, or anything like that. You've retreated, or it
doesn't fail on a 1 as well.
So it always does 1 wound.
Yeah, it always does at least 1, and so it's quite likely to do 2.
Something with a wound left, you just go, I'll ping it then. A bit like a bolt, really.
Really good chance. If something's on 2 wounds left, you've got a really good chance.
And the Wind Mage can also put Arcane Bolt on, so you could actually do potentially
suicide run, but
4 plus D3.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. It's all right. Buffeting Aspergillium, whatever that is.
Aspergillium.
Start of the combat phase, you pick an enemy unit within 3, subtract 1 from hit and wound rolls. So that's great.
It is
very defensive, but
decent. Not versus the bearer. You just affecting that unit.
Just affect the enemy unit. So
that's great.
Yeah, really, really good.
Tasty. Stone Mages next.
Yeah.
Heartstone Amulet. The bearer has a 4+ ward against mortal wounds. Pretty solid if that's something you're worried about. Molten Talisman. Add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by friendly Alarith units wholly within 12 of the bearer, if the bearer did not charge in the same turn. Strong, but is that too many Fs? Or do you not care?
No,
because
it's a big enough range. Yeah. And the mage isn't going to be charging. You're going to run up behind the unit, and then they're getting +1 to wound. Or if you get charged, it still affects, right? So
God, those units are going to be a target, aren't they? They're going to be stood behind some dudes, giving them twice as many wounds, making their wound rolls better, just like sneaking.
I don't know why I read the next one as Magic Hammer, and I was just thinking that's such a lame name, but it's not. It's Magmic.
Magmic Hammer. Add 1 to the number of mortal wounds caused by arcane bolt spells that are cast by the bearer. That's kind of cute, but you're not going to take it in comparison to the others, are you?
No, not unless they've got some boost to bolt on their war scroll, but I don't think they do. So
it's no Windstone. I quite like Windstone actually.
Yeah.
If I've got any arcane bolt plans, it's to see if I get arcane bolt off, get it off, and then just go in and assume that I'm going to do like 3
Cloud Rider army in your midst with.
Well, I do quite like not that model.
Asparagus Wind, Aspergillium. Is that what that is?
I've suffered from that recently, actually. Yeah. It's a regular occurrence in my life.
Windy bot time.
Okay, so we've gone through quite a lot of stuff, which I wish was separated by a different means than we have.
At least if you've got
the Lore of Hish. Yeah. Got some spells on the way.
So this is Teclis, Sonari, and Vanari. So this is your non-wind and stone temples. I think they've got 3 spell laws. Yeah. So these are the spells generally where that you add the annoying spells where you could reroll to hit and all that kind of stuff. So you've got Speed of Hish, which on a 5 range of 18, pick 1 friendly Lumineth Realm Lords unit wholly within range, double their move, which is always strong.
It's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's on a 5. You can give these to the units as well. So, you know, it's, I believe.
Wholly within 18 is absolutely fine. It's not restricted at all. Yeah, it's really good.
Solar Flare, so cast on 8, range of 10, pick a point in the battlefield. If there's an end of spell, it's dispelled. And if there's a unit on that point, roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in the unit. For each 6, it takes a mortal wound. Yeah, I mean, if you got to roll an 8 to cast it and it's got a range of 10, you might as well just dispel the endless spell, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're never going to pick this, but the peeps that get it for free, it's an all right option.
Yeah,
you know, could be. You wouldn't pick it though. Section of Hish next, an absolute classic. Casting value of 8, so another high one. Range of 9, not very much. If successfully cast until your next hero phase, friendly units wholly within range of the caster have a ward of 5+. This cannot be cast in the same hero phase as Protection of Heckless. So that's pretty good, right?
It's that annoying spell that's like all or nothing. It's like if it goes off, it's huge. If it doesn't go off, you're like, oh my god, my army's going to be paper thin.
Yeah, I mean, if only you could exactly plan around your stuff definitely going off or not. Would be a powerful one.
You can with Techless, but obviously he's got a better version. But I think, like, if you're trying to cast that on a normal wizard on an 8, even with a reroll using E for quartz, that's not easy.
Some buffs. Yeah. I mean, you get the option of 2 reroll or add 1, but still, like you said, eggs are in a basket.
This might be when you've got multiple Scenari wizards and you're like getting +3 to cast with a reroll, you know, or something like that. So
we'll see when we hit their endless spells and whatnot, if they've got ways to buff it. Overwhelming Heat is next. Range of 24, rare, value of 7. If successfully cast, pick 1 enemy unit, half the move characteristic of that unit until the next hero phase, then roll a dice. If the roll is equal to or greater than the unit's save, they suffer D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah, it's okay, but it's wholly within, which is weird.
Yeah, long range, but then it's made less.
Almost
so it's kind of the same as 18.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
They should have just probably made that 18 and not worried about wholly within. But
yeah, I mean, it's a powerful ability though. Someone's got move 16, you're basically guaranteeing that they maybe can't make a charge. It's strong. I wouldn't pick it, but again, if you got all of these, then maybe it's nice to have the option in your back pocket. Ethereal Blessing is next. Casting value of 6, range of 18. 1 friendly Lumineth Realm Lords unit wholly within range visible to the caster. Till your next hero phase, ignore modifiers, positive and negative, when making save rolls for attacks that target that unit. Nice option to have.
Yeah.
I've got Rent 4. No, you haven't.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite good that you ignore positive as well. So it's okay.
It's as good as the thing that you're scared about that's hitting you, basically. High Kragnos. Fatal Eclipse is next. Casting value of 9, another high one. If successfully cast until your next hero phase, your opponent must spend 2 command points to issue a command instead of 1. We've all had this done against us. It feels bad. It's a good spell.
Yeah. It is a solid spell. Can be game changing, to be honest.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely.
Does that last into your next hero phase? Until your next hero phase, yeah. So you could get quite a lot of value out of that.
Grim. You're like, that's one that if you do spend, you won't feel as great about immediately, but you'll feel pretty awesome about later, I think. Especially if it encourages you to give away the turn.
You imagine like getting that off on like turn 1 to 2 or turn 2 to 3. If you're playing like Iron Jaws and you want to like
I had it.
Mighty Destroyer. It's like, ugh.
I had it with my Slanesh. It was absolutely horrible. Like, really horrible. Like, literally, like, yeah, I had to pick. I think I had 3 CPs, and it just felt grim because I had all these wonderful plans. I needed most of them to go off to have a chance. And it was just like, nope.
Law of the Wind.
Then. Yeah, more spells.
So, Howling Gale. Cast on an 8, range of 12, pick an enemy unit in range. They cannot issue or receive commands. to your next hero phase.
Yeah.
Solid as well.
Yeah. High cost. 8.
Yeah, but I mean,
you wouldn't expect it to be low.
No, sometimes you like, if you roll low, they'll probably unbind it anyway, right? So
yeah.
Healing Zephyr on a 6. Pick a friendly Lumineth Realm Lord unit wholly within range. Heal D3 wounds, so you can heal yourself as well.
Yeah. And all of these are just saying keyword Lumineth Realm Lord until now. Basically, we've not seen a restricted spell yet.
We'll get there in a minute. Then we got Transporting Vortex on an 8, range of 12. Pick a Lumineth Realm Lord unit wholly within range, visible to the caster. Remove the unit from the battlefield. Set it up again on the battlefield. 1/9 from all enemy units. The unit cannot move in the next movement phase. So it's a teleport, basically.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it might get you out of trouble. Might get you onto objective.
Might let you shoot something really important.
But an 8 is...
It's what you'd expect. It's what teleports cost, isn't it?
Yeah, but you could do a whole unit as well. So like, which is nice, rather than just the caster. Like, it's a bit better than Steed of Tides, you know. So
I like it with either a resilient unit just to pop it in the most annoying place possible for your opponent, or with a shooting unit to almost guarantee that a key piece gets taken down or something like that.
Then we've got Unbreakable. These are the lore of High Peaks for Alarith, which are the stone temple.
And Techless.
So you've got the Unbreakable Stoicism spell on a 7. Pick a Stone Guard unit wholly within range. That unit's Crushing Blow works on a 5 rather than a 6, which I think is doing mortals basically on a hit roll.
And on a hit roll, what have you spotted about that last sentence?
Unmodified?
Oh, it's a 5+. Damn it.
What?
I was going to say, because it's a 5+ instead of a 6. It was I thought you were going to get to suddenly unlock like it on a 4+.
No.
I miss the unmodified.
No, they don't. They don't let that happen anymore. Then you've got Crippling Vertigo. Cast on 6, range of 18. Became a unit. Roll 2d6 before it makes a normal move. Runs, retreats, makes charge moves, or pile in. If the roll is greater than their bravery, they can't make the move.
Good against some, but against others, it's very unlikely to go off.
Depends if you're debuffing them with like Horrorghast or something like that. Then
fair.
I mean, I think even a Maw Crusher's only bravery 8, so
yeah. It's brilliant against destruction and much less good against death or demons.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there are a lot of stuff in the game, particularly with the prevalence of Beastmen, where it could be big. Just that chance. I mean, even if they're bravery 10 and you just pop the 11, it can just stop them fighting.
Yeah. So. If you've modified 10 by 1, you're raising the likelihood of that so much.
Living Fissure. It's on a 7, range of 18. Pick 1 point in the battlefield within range of the caster that's visible to them. Draw a line of sight between that point and the closest point in the caster's base. Each unit that's passed a gun on a 2+ takes D3 mortal wounds. So it's like a shot,
quite a lot with that.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's a must stop from people. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, they've got some decent spells. I mean, like, there's a lot of them.
There's tons.
So we've got the Great Nation. So we've got the Great Nation of Umetrica, which is the Alarith Temple. And this basically says that the Enduring Rock ability, which I believe is on the War Scroll, normally changes the rend to no rend if it's got a rend of -1. But this makes it on a -1 or 2, they ignore the rend for Alarith units. So
you're like buffing your skeleton shields, essentially, which is pretty good. Rend 1 and 2 covers a lot of the game, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure the skeleton shields do that anymore, by the way, but yeah.
Okay. Unless someone's really elite, your pretty fragile stuff just got pretty resilient in comparison.
Yeah, so and also like, the skeleton shields were like, if you had no rend, they gave you +1 save. If they had rend, you didn't get it, so it was like a double bubble. But yeah, this is just removing rend, so it's the Great Nation of Sayar is always popular. You get 2 Aether Quartz reserves instead of 1 on every unit.
Oh, it's just incredible. I mean, we said that getting 1 more Aether Quartz on a hero was a good option. How about just having it everywhere?
And I know you lose bravery, but it's so flexible. And like, when you actually think about it, like, that's as good as worsening the rend by one. It's better than worsening the rend by another one. Because you just get extra save.
What if you don't have to take a battle shock test because you use this? Then you don't care about the bravery.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Solid still.
And you've got Ilifana. Then once per turn, you can say that 2 of the Venari units will use their Aether Quartz reserves to use an Aether Quartz reserve ability in the same phase instead of only 1. So basically, you can use the same ability on 2 units rather than 1.
Yeah, you can double down on it, which is quite powerful considering that you've got stuff doing things in pairs in the army anyway with attacking, or whatever. So pretty solid.
Then you've got Zytrek, which was another one that's fairly popular. You get +1 to cast and dispel unbind for Zytrek wizards.
Drunk if you have wizards,
and you will with Lumineth because they're all wizards basically. Alumnia. So you've got claim the field. If the base of each model in a friendly Venari unit is touching the base of 2 or more other models in the same unit, each model of the unit that is within 6 of an objective counts as 2 models for the purpose of contesting an objective. Words.
Can you tell me what it means?
Basically, it means
we run in a good block.
If your units are in base contact with each other and they're all within 6 of an objective, so if they're all touching bases, each model that's within 6 objective is 2 models.
Okay.
So I believe they've got the Shining Company rule. But I mean, obviously in the current handbook, you just take Expert Conquerors because they're all battle line, I believe. So, yeah, but still good.
Yeah, good for objective stuff. Good for blobbing.
Helen, which is normally your wind magey things. So it says add 1 to the attacks of missile weapons by friendly Helen units while they're within 6 of any enemy units. So if you're close, they shoot more.
Kind of weird, isn't it, that one? But
yeah, but that's kind of how they work. The kangaroos, they move up, they shoot you, they back off. So they, it's kind of how they kind of want to be close.
I mean, 1 more shot per model is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I still think Sire and Zytrek are the 2, but I might be wrong. So that's the nations. I don't know if they affect battle line. Let's have a quick look.
They will do, won't they? So what we got? So Stone Guard, battle line, and Numetrica. So it's not according to your general. Wind Chargers, battle line in Helon. Blade Lords, for each scenario hero included in your army can take 1 Blade Lord unit as a battle line unit. It's kind of like the Skaven recently, isn't it? And the Wardens, for each Wardens unit in your army, you can take 1 Sentinels unit or Dawn Riders unit as a battle line unit. So loads of options to get your battle line in. And
I think that's all the same. It's interesting that Alarith are, battle line Numetrica because that's the one that buffs them, and then you've got battle line in Helen, so it does restrict your choice. So quite interesting, but yeah, everyone's just sitting there looking at all the points now. Ignore the fact that all my pictures are flipping around like crazy. So
big boy,
grand strategies, because easy to miss, but yeah. So you've got Scenari Illumination. When the battle ends, if there's a friendly Scenari unit in each quarter of the battlefield, I'm not sure you're going to be taking that one.
You're not a massively resilient army, and it's not how they would win.
I just don't think you've got many Scenari units. I think Scenari might be the Blade Lords and stuff as well, but I can't remember.
Yeah. Unless you've got like 4 in the centre, just like weird.
Alarith Aftershock. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy 2 or more friendly Alarith units contested 2 or more objectives. It's a bit easier.
Yeah, some scenarios don't have many objectives though.
That's true.
That's like it's like if you're winning, you're winning more.
Yeah.
Which I don't think doubling down in that way is the best way to go. You want to pick something that if things aren't going great, you still got a chance of. Yeah,
you got Hurricane Cyclone. And the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy of 3 or more friendly Hurricane units are within 6 of the same enemy unit. So that's no good. I don't like that one.
No. Difficult.
All not very good. You obviously need the Daughters of Cain designer to come along and write some tactics.
Let's see if he was involved. So, priority target. Pick 1 enemy monster on the battlefield. You complete this tactic if that monster is slain in this turn, sounding good. In this turn, by text made by any Star Shard ballistas. Very specific.
Yeah, no.
Also, like, what if their monster's well resilient?
Or you just miss, right?
Or they don't have a monster.
Or you don't have, you've got like your ballistas. I mean, obviously you pick these so you know at the start of the turn, but anything that requires rolling dice, it's not good.
That's well specific and variable. Imagine playing Nurgle with that. You'd feel properly bad against, anything Nurgle, actually. Conserve Aether Quartz. Pick one enemy unit on the battlefield and one friendly Lumineth Realm Lord unit that has at least one Aether Quartz reserve. You complete this tactic if that enemy unit is destroyed by that Lumineth Realm Lord's unit this turn, and that unit of yours has at least one Aether Quartz reserve at the end of this turn. So if you've got 2 Aether Quartz, then,
I was about
burn
to say
one, go in, don't give a shit. Blind the enemy. Obviously, that one's good. There's not even range, so you could just shoot something. Blind the enemy. You complete this tactic if 4 or more spells are successfully cast with different friendly Lumineth Realm Lords units in this turn. For certain armies, that's going to be a doddle. But in certain matchups, or for certain other armies, that's just not even going to come into it, I don't think.
Still don't show if you actually pick that one, because you got to successfully cast.
Yeah.
So...
Elemental Supremacy next. Pick one enemy hero on the battlefield and one friendly elementary unit that has at least one Aether Quartz reserve. You complete this tactic if that hero is slain by that unit in this turn. So you have to have...
I don't know what an elementary unit is. I guess that might be the... I don't know. We'll find out.
We'll find out in a bit. But that's not too restrictive because they only have to have the reserve at the point at which you select them. They don't have to have it left at the end or anything. So... you just have to be confident you can kill something, and there's no range attached to this or anything like that. Hishmade Manifest. You complete this tactic if there are 2 or more endless spells from your army on the battlefield at the end of this turn. Ignore the odds. When you reveal this battle tactic, pick one friendly Lumineth Realm Lords unit and one enemy unit that are within 1 each of each other. So in combat, you complete this tactic if that enemy unit is destroyed in this turn and the Lumineth Realm Lords unit that you picked has not been destroyed. So in certain armies, that can be very doable.
Well, sometimes in the game, you just end up in a situation when there's like 2 enemies fighting your big unit and they're going to die. And you just go... and you don't even need to kill that unit with the unit that's within 1 inch of them.
No.
You can kill it with a spell or shoot an attack, and then the unit can charge something else. As long as they're not dead by the end of the turn, you're fine.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a pretty...
That's actually a really reliably good one to have in your back pocket, because there's always times in a game where that comes up.
Well, the times that that's going to come up are the really nice times, because you can pop that off turn 2, 3, or 4 mid game, leaving you an easier other one later on, and that should be absolutely doable. So ignore the odds. It's very reliable.
It's almost against all the odds, which is not really against any odds at all. It's like we use the word odds on ones that are really easy. So
give or take. All right, now we are onto the big boy, aren't we?
Yes. So he's got 16 wounds, 4 up save, movement of 10, flies, is a wizard. It depends on his Archmage ability, how much he can cast. So it says that they go down, so he's got 1, 2, or 4, and it goes up to 1, 2, or 4, then 2 or 4, then 4. I think he's probably still got the same rules. I don't think they've changed him. Got some combat attacks, got a shooting attack. So Archmage, at the start of your hero phase, you say how many spells you're going to try and cast. Then basically you either spell 1 cast is on a 12, cannot be modified, cannot be unbound. 2 spells, they're cast on a 12, cannot be modified, and they can be unbound, but obviously you need bonuses to do that. Or you can do 4 spells, which are all on a 10, cannot be modified, and they can be unbound. So like you go like I have 1 on a 12 that can't be, 2 on a 12 that can be, or 4 on a 10 that can be.
Ultimate magic flexibility, and as we're going to see, you can which laws can you pick from?
All of them. He knows them all, I think.
Everything. So you just got the contents of this book to play with.
Yeah. Then you've got Aura of Selenar. +1 cast, dispel, and bind for all Lumineth Realm units holding within 18. 16, which goes down as he takes damage. Then he's got the discs of Alimentary. In your hero phase, in addition to casting spells, this unit can automatically dispel 1 endless spell. and in the enemy hero phase can automatically unbind a spell. So I'm pretty sure that's already there.
Really good though, still, isn't it? You've got to get your 700 points worth out of Teclis.
Yeah. Then he's got a each time a friendly unit within range of the Aura Selenar is affected by the abilities of spell and the spell on a 4-up, ignore the effects of the spell. Then pick an enemy unit within 18 of that unit. That unit takes D3 mortal wounds.
Lovely bonus.
Then you got protection of Teclis on a 10, range of 18. All friendly Lumineth Realm Lords units wholly within range have a 5 ward. It cannot be cast on the same turn as protection of Hish. Then he's got the Storm of Searing White Light. Cast on a 10, range of 18. Roll a dice for each enemy unit within range. On a 1, nothing. 2 to 4 D3, 5 plus D6. And obviously through Spell Portal, that's generally the damage spell you do to hit everything. So you put up protection, you spang through your damage through there. There's your 2 auto casts on a 12, or if you're going to be a bit more ballsy, you can go for 4 on a 10. Depends what you're facing, if they've got bonuses to unbind, basically. So yeah, he's basically the same. I don't think there's much changed about him.
Yeah, 1-man magical army, 700 points.
Which doesn't sound too expensive.
It doesn't. You're very much geared towards protecting him, because he doesn't come with a massive amount of protection vanilla on his scroll until he's put some stuff up.
Then we've got the Light of Alfarian, 8 wounds, 3-up save. I think he's been significantly reworked.
Hopefully.
4 attacks, 2s, 3s, rend free, damage free, so that's solid.
That's a great profile, yeah.
And then he's got a blade, which is 2s, 3s, rend 1, damage free as well, so that's quite a significant amount of damage. And it says a Sonari Blade. At the start of the enemy hero phase, you could pick an enemy monster or hero. Attacks made with his blade that target the hero monster have a damage of 2d3 instead of 3.
What?
So basically, you can pick an enemy hero or monster and change your damage from 3 to 2d3.
Oh, that's really good.
So you have a chance at getting 2, but more often than not, you should do 3 or plus.
Right? 4. Yeah, absolutely.
Then you've got the Fang Sword of Alfarian. Add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made by the Fang Sword if it charged. In addition, if the modified wound roll is a 6, it does a mortal wound in addition.
That's great. So 2s and 2s.
Yeah, if he charges, and then 6s do an extra, and he's rend free as well. In your shooting phase, pick an enemy unit of an 18. Roll a dice. On a 1, nothing happens. 2 to 4, take D3 mortals. On a 5-up, take D6 mortals. So that's not even a shooting attack. You just do it. Ignore modifiers, positive and negative. In addition, half the damage inflicted by attacks made by missile weapons or melee weapons that target this unit rounding up. Right. So it's really solid. Like, I've got a 3-up save, can't modify it. You've got a damage-free attack, I just take 2. You've got a damage 2 attack, I just take 1.
140 points.
Yeah, it's really cheap now. I think he's really expensive for it. It's like 200 plus.
And he didn't do nearly as much, nearly as reliably.
And he's also got an extreme Supreme Swordmaster rule. Ignore negative modifiers for making hit rolls. In addition, if the unmodified hit roll is a 6, you do 2 hits instead of 1. So he's got the potential for exploding attacks. Can't be modified his hit roll. He just sits on 2s.
The Sigvald of Order, isn't he, basically?
He's really solid. Yeah, really, really good. He actually feels dangerous now.
Really dangerous.
8 wounds
Not
as
massive
well.
Base. Yeah. He's a prime suspect for you, just like ramping up his move and sending him off like a melee bolt into people, isn't he?
I mean, it's a lot of damage. I mean, that's so much damage. He's not unique.
You're risking very little with him. The Light of Alfarian. He is unique.
He is. Okay, good. I was going to say.
Yeah. We've already had
Imagine having that 4 of those running around.
We've had that issue in previous times, haven't we, with this book? So, only one of him on the table, which is appropriate. And like Sigvald, he's an absolute unit. He's very, you don't have a particularly vanilla on its scroll defensible army. So having something like that just to annoy your opponent and probably survive for a decent amount of time. Like, those 8 wounds are going to stick around, aren't they?
And you've got ways to heal.
Yes, you absolutely have.
And you've got ways to give him a ward. So with protection, so
sweet.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Cool.
Lyria or Referral, which is the named Guyon kangaroo thing, You know, people are going to be like shouting at me. Your Metrica is his guaranteed thing. 16 movement. That's really far. 3 up save, 6 wounds. He's got a missile weapon, so it's pretty good. He got some melee weapons. Won't read out the profile, you can see it yourself. It said the damage inflicted by attack made by demon bane is free, so D3 if it's a chaos demon. Subtract 1 from hit rolls from attacks that target this unit and add 1 to casting roll when attempts to cast greater power of Hish. If this unit uses its last Aether Quartz reserve, it cannot use this ability for the rest of the battle. You need an Aether Quartz to use those. Some metal weapons, the modified hit roll for attack with a Regent Sword of 6, it does 2 mortal wounds, and the attack sequence ends. So that's, I think, all the Venari stuff's got those sun metal weapons and bows. Voice of Tyrion, once a battle round, it can issue a command to your Metrica unit anywhere on the battlefield without spending a command point.
Anywhere on the battlefield. Sweet.
And then the Greater Power of Hish is on a 7. Pick D3 Lumineth Realm Lord units with the sun metal weapons trait. Then they work on a 5 instead of a 6. So this is the mortal wounds on a 5 rather than a 6, and you can do D3
really
units.
There's quite a lot for 190 points, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, and a 3 up save and, 3-inch reach on his Demon Bane. His lance. So obviously he's got a better lance than a Vampire Lord. So just 2 attacks, 2s, 2s, rend 1 damage D3, and then 5 attacks from the blade, 2s, 3s, rend 1 damage 2. That's a lot of damage output.
It is, yeah. With some of them turning into mortal wounds. So
yeah, not bad at all. You do have the vanilla one, who's essentially... Yeah, that's a bit unusual, but yeah, maybe his horse is a little bit tired. I don't know what their mount's called. It's a bit weird, isn't it? It's a light courser. There you go. It's got horns and claws. It can use those, unlike the Lord of the Change with his beak and claws. When he's holding a stick, he can't use them. So he's got 5 attacks. So he's got the same melee profile. He just doesn't have the lance. He's got the purest Aether Quartz rule. He's got the sun metal rule, and he's got the greater power of Hish still. So he's basically almost the same. He just doesn't have, obviously, not tied into your Metrica. Doesn't have the Voice of Tyrion ability. Doesn't have the Demon Bane. Has less movement.
170 points, but you can equip items on him, so a bit more defensible.
Yeah, not unique. So good. Still solid. I think if you're running like you want double bubble at trying to get your sun metals off, it's good because like that can be key on some units.
Yeah, and 14 inches is still well fast.
Yeah, not going to complain the difference between 14 and 16. So you've got the Venari Banner Blade, 5 wounds, 3 up save. So 4 attacks, 2s, 3s, rend 1 damage 1. So not really very combat-y. Reroll charge rolls for Lumineth Realm Lords Holy of an 18 of any Banner Blades. And then addition once per battle at the start of any phase, you can say he will draw the power of the World Banner. If you do so, roll a dice for each enemy unit of an 18. If the roll is equal to or less than the number of the current battle round, the unit takes D3 mortal wounds and subtract 1 from hit rolls until the end of the phase.
Cool.
Quite a nice little nuke. And of course, he's got the sun metal rule, so gets a mortal wound. So I don't know how many. 100. Oh, okay. So he's cheap enough you might see him because I don't think you're going to see him. He is a totem, which can be useful.
You're not massively restricting the army. There's a load of things that let you spend CPs, and you've got your own reserve.
I still like the idea of a Venari like traditional kind of phalanx army with spearmen, bowmen, cavalry, and he kind of fits into that nicely. And
yeah, he does.
And the good thing is it's quite a nice defensive ability. When they charge your warden wall, then you go right, you almost want to hit and you take some damage. Obviously, earlier in the game that happens, the worse it is. So
yeah. Any phase, kind of cute, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's useful.
So it is. We're on to Sentinels.
Oh, aren't we lucky? So 1 wound, 5 up save still, which they're wearing like pajamas, but it's fine. They've got 2 shot profiles, aimed and lofted. It's obviously 3s or 4s to hit, 4s to wound. They've got rend on aim and no rend on lofted, 1 damage each. But obviously the whole point of these is 5 ups do mortals or 6s do mortals because they're sun metal, right? So the one thing you've got is I think they used to have a way to make them re-roll to hit with the spells, which are gone. So
thankfully.
So each time it shoots, you've either lofted or aimed. So if you either want the extra range or not, it's a wizard. Well, it's got 5 or more models, so it's not tied into the champion anymore because that causes a load of problems with how does that work. And then he can be armed with a champion's blade instead of a bow and dagger. So he doesn't have a shooting weapon if he's got the champion's blade. I'm not sure why you do that. And it carries a Skyhawk lantern. So the Skyhawk lantern is add 6 to the range of the lofted bows while it's within 12 of any other friendly sentinels units or ballistas. So you can get the extra range, but your champion loses his attack to shoot. And conversely, you still need line of sight to shoot now, whereas before you didn't. So
still decent though. 6 inches more ranges, solid.
And because before I think they just had 30, and then you didn't need line of sight, and you got to reroll to hit. So there was lots of ways to make these like disgustingly good at dishing out mortals at range.
Still a potential 36-inch range shot from a potentially battle line unit, which
if they move,
absolutely fine. Yeah.
Then you've got the Shining Company. It's a subtract 1 from hit roll, so that's if they're base to base, basically. So Parahish on a 6. So I believe that you can cast this multiple times. So wizards can attempt to cast it in the same hero phase. So it means that the unit powers itself basically and does their sun metal on a 5 instead of a 6. Points for these guys?
150, I think. Let me double check.
So they've kind of been nerfed a little bit, but I still think they're solid.
150. They now probably make a bit more sense in terms of how fairly they're pointed.
I mean, it's still a 5-up save, 10 wound wizard with Aether Quartz that's got a ranged attack that does mortal wounds. I mean, they're not like...
That's a bargain for 150. No one should be complaining about that. That's really, that's a very solid option.
I'm not sure you'll be taking the Skyhawk Lantern, but it depends. Like, do you want the extra shot? Do you want the extra range? If you're not in range, you don't shoot anyway, so maybe you do take it. So
it gives you something to do in the first turn very reliably. People can't hide heroes as well, etc.
So Wardens,
these were always really good, weren't they? I think people never spoke about them enough. They were just incredible for what you paid.
So again, they're wizards, or sun metal weapons. They've got the Wall of Blades. If the target unit made a charge move in the same turn, add 1 to wound rolls and improve the rend. So if you charge them, they're better against you. So they'll be wounded on 3s, with rend of 2 with the pikes, which is rend of 1, and the blade is rend of 2. Sorry, because that's the champion's blade. Shining Company, and they've got the Power of Hish. So solid.
Yeah, 150 points, 4-up save, solid option. Charging them is not going to feel very fun for people, especially if you've got a way to protect them to keep more of them alive to attack back.
It's interesting the same points as the Sentinels.
Yeah, at least it's cleaner when you're working stuff out.
I mean, it's nice for army this design because they're directly swappable, right? So
yeah, exactly, completely.
Dawn
Riders next.
Yeah,
absolutely. So move 14, still speedy. Decent amount of low quality attacks coming in. Let's check the special rules. See how crazy they are. Deathly Furrows. At the start of the combat phase, you can say this unit will use its Deathly Furrows ability. If you do so in that phase, you can either add 1 to the attacks of its melee weapons, but it can only target units that have a wounds characteristic of 1 or 2 and do not have a mount, or you can add 2 to the attacks characteristic of the unit's melee weapons, but it can only target units that have a wound characteristic of 1 and do not have a mount. So you can really bully crappy stuff with this unit.
Yeah.
Like really, really bully it. That's a huge amount. Lancers of Dawn. If this unit makes a charge move, if the unit had made a charge move in the same turn, add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made with this unit, some metal lancers, and improve the rend of that weapon by 1. Cool. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target the unit if the base of each model is within 2. Shining Company. So all of the normal stuff. Some metal weapons again. Power of Hish again.
Same again.
Yeah.
So at least like they're wizards as well, where they've got 3 or more models. So like all the Venari stuff works the same. All the sun metals work the same. So it's quite nice, What points wise are we looking at these boys? They're like
Dawn Riders 140.
So cheaper
and
than
of course
Wardens.
Yeah, and they can be battle line if you've got
Wardens.
Yeah. Still a really good option. Like you can.
It's interesting that they're cheaper.
Yeah, if someone's got a large unit of crap, you can get there so reliably with the 14-inch move, and then you could just absolutely muller them. Like someone with not a massive amount of wounds, and like even if they got a 4-up save, you're going to be plowing so many attacks into them.
I like the thematic nature of the cavalry charging infantry and just mowing it down, like in one round, where you go, I'm extra rend, I'm +1 to wounds, I'm freeze, rend 1, and I've got 3 attacks of lance rather than 1.
Well, yeah, with Ace of Quartz, the ability to double their move, you could whip round a flank and just, really, really annoy someone. There's a decent chance of you having enough things left after you've pretty much wiped something out to be alive there to pull attention as well. So,
I just don't think I'd want to paint them. After I've painted 5, I never want to paint Lumineth again. I think you can do Lumineth very easily if you just use contrast and
asking for it,
sort of pre-shading and things like that. I mean, when I did mine, I had to do it all like heavy metal standard and do all the trim. It was an absolute nightmare.
Completely. But yeah, they're nice dynamic sculpts. Don't know how they are to build.
Not great, honestly.
Okay.
But all the Lumineth kits are like that. I would, if I was building Lumineth, and I cut all the tassels and everything off, because they just become a pain to paint to do. So the Blade Lords, I cut all their headdresses around the edges, all the stuff that's sticking out their helmet. I just cut it all off because I just prefer them like the old school High Elves.
Yeah.
So we've got the Venari Starshard Ballista. It's movement 6, 5 wounds, 5-up save. It's got 30-inch range, bolts, 3 attacks, 2s, freeze, rend 2, damage D3, so that's decent. Obviously, you didn't care about the melee. It's obviously artillery. Once per battle, when you pick this unit to shoot, you can see it will fire it will fire its blinding bolts. In addition to any damage, units that are hit by an attack are dazzled, -1 from hit rolls. So you can basically dazzle a unit. If you shoot a monster, the damage is free instead of D3, so pretty good.
Solid.
The unit has a ward of 6 up if it remains stationary, because it's got little lanterns, of course.
Why not?
Add 6 to the range if it's within 12 of any other friendly Starshard Ballistas or Aurelian Sentinel unit.
Yeah, same Scryhawks rule that we've seen already. 130 points.
It's good. I mean, like...
It's a fine option. The buff against monsters is really good.
Yeah, I mean, like 30-inch range, well, potentially 36-inch range, potentially 42-inch range if you've moved and you're within range, you've got the thing. But 2s to hit, 3s to wound, rend 2, damage 3 against monsters.
Yeah.
It's not awful.
I mean, if I had a couple of these, I think the prime target it'd be pulling those little buffy heroes out because hitting on a 2. Like you're ignoring Lookout Sir almost. Yeah,
if you go spend my Aether Quartz +1 to hit.
Important enough, right? Take out a 5-wound wizard pretty reliably with a couple of those.
Well, if you hit and wound with 2 of them, like you should kill a 5-wound hero. If you've got 2 ballistas shooting the same target.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You can all out attack 1. You can Aether Quartz the other. You should be able to kill a 5-wound hero with that reliably. And you've got lots of ways to ping damage, like we talked about the Wind Mage flying over doing the mortal wound stick and all that stuff. So it's nice. I think you will see it in play. You didn't really see it very often, but
no, I think a couple in a martial army is a really good option because you're going to want to get rid of certain pieces before people reach you. 42-inch range potentially is plenty to do that, as is 36.
And it's nice that it's got the rend and it's not relying on mortals, and it's kind of like, because otherwise you just buy Sentinels, right? So at least it's cheaper, and you're thinking, oh, okay. The Venari Blade Lords, I really like the idea of Blade Lords. I don't know if they've made them any better. So they've got 2 wounds, 4-up save. I think you buy them in 5s. They've got a 2-inch reach on their Sun Metal Great Blade, which is nice.
Yep.
Either 1 attack with a C below with a perfect strike, or 2 attacks, freeze, no rend, 1 damage. Obviously, rend's not that important for these armies, so they've got Sun Metals, so they've got Sun Metal weapons. I don't know if they used to. I don't think they used to have Sun Metal rule, although they are, they've got Sun Metal weapons, so it's really weird. Each time it fights, it uses either Perfect Strike or Flurry of Blows. then basically you do not use the attack sequence on a perfect strike. On a 2+, they take a mortal wound. So you just go, right, I'm going to roll 1 dice per guy, 2+ your mortal wounds. That's really solid. Because it just gets rid of all the armor stuff and like all that. You could just, I like that a lot. And then it says, if you do flurry, then you add 1 attacks if the 5 to 9 in the enemy unit, and add 2 if there are 10 or more in the unit. So you have 4 attacks each, freeze. And of course, every time you roll is 5 or 6 to hit. If you've cast the spell to increase their weapons off of, you need the warden though, because they don't have a spell. They're not wizards. So you would need to take, which is actually a good, so I'm jumping around a bit, but that's a good reason to take the Lord Regent, because he can buff their Sunmetal weapons with the spell, but you can't cast the spell innately from the Blade Lords.
Yeah. Not everything in this book is a wizard, guys.
Oh, not almost.
Nearly.
And what's nice about that is that you could have 4 attacks a model, which have a 2-inch reach, which do mortals on a 5+, which is probably going to be better than having 1 attack that on a 2+ does a mortal. But if you don't get the spell off, and you're like, I need mortals to get rid of the armor, and if you fight something that doesn't have armor, then that's probably better.
Really flexible. 130 points as well. Which isn't bad for that amount of decent quality wounds at all. Yeah.
I used to use Swordmasters in little darts, so I still think a unit of 5 of these is a decent, because you could literally put them 2 and then 3 at the back, because they come in 5s, right?
5 going in with 20 attacks or whatever. It's all right, isn't it?
It's all right.
Really not bad.
They've got the Guardians as well. So before you allocate a wound or mortal wound to a scenario unit, instead of making a ward roll, then basically you can just take the wound on a 2+. So they're bodyguards, basically. So
some metal weapons and Shining Company like everyone else.
Yeah, I like the Blade Lords. It's probably just more a nostalgia thing than an actual them being that good. But someone will tell me mathematically they're not very good. But
they've got a cool scroll, and having options has got a decent. As long as the options aren't crap, which they're not, and they've all got very specific uses. It's just really good to have.
They can't be battle line, can they?
Use them. Blade Lords. Yes. For each scenario.
Cool.
It's pretty. Yeah.
Like those.
Yeah, really not a bad option whatsoever.
And I'm back, just me now. So I'll carry on going through the Lumineth Battletome. And I'll start off with the Scenari. So the Scenari Kaflar. So again, it's a wizard. Has 1 spell, 5 wounds, 5+ save. Once per battle in your hero phase, when the unit attempts to cast a spell, its first spell is automatically cast with a 9. Cannot be modified, but it can be unbound. Quite good. If you've got that clutch spell, like protection, you really need to get off, then that's pretty decent. I mean, obviously, it can still be unbound, so it's not a guarantee. But, it's a decent ability, especially with some of the high casts in the lore. She's 110 points, which is fairly reasonable for a wizard with a decent ability. And the Absorb Despair is always one of the biggest things you could do. So for any units, Aether Quartz Reserve was wholly within 18 of this unit. So basically, you can absorb the negative energy, so you don't subtract 1 from the bravery, but instead you can pick an enemy unit of an 18 and subtract 1 from their bravery. The same enemy unit can't be affected more than once per battle, so it allows you to take the negative and put it onto them. Then obviously the rule used to be to do with the battle shock, which is was very powerful. So I think that's quite a nice way of negating the negatives of using Aether Quartz. And then you've got Darkness of the Soul spell on the 7, range of 18. Pick an enemy unit within range, or 2d6. Each unit makes a normal move, runs, retreats. If it's greater than their bravery, they cannot perform that action. So that's obviously the spell that we've seen it covered somewhere else. So pretty good. You can lock down units, especially if you've bounced negative -1. It's kind of a big deal. I mean, it's cast on 7 high cast. It's only a 1 cast wizard. But yeah, it's not a bad shout. Could be clutch in the right situation. You've got the Scenario Enlightener, which is the new hero for the box set, which I haven't looked at yet. So it's got an Crescent Staff with D6 attacks, freeze, rend 1, damage 1, so a ranged weapon. you know, an okay melee attack, but not really what you want to be doing with this model. It's 2 spells, and then you can get the Deep Thinker's Rule. Once per turn, if this unit successfully casts a spell from the Lore of Hysh that is not unbound, you can roll a dice. On a 3+, you can resolve the effect of the spell a second time, but you can't pick the same target, so that's really nice. And then you got Twin Tether, spell on a 6, range of 12, 1 enemy unit within range. To the next hero phase, each time a mortal wound allocated to this caster, opponent must allocate the wound to the enemy unit, so it kind of bounces the wound back. So that's a really nice ability. The Enlightener seems like a very good hero. It's 170 points, 2 cast, which reminds me a little bit of the Soul Mason. Maybe a little bit expensive, but decent. Then you got the Sonari Caligrave, which again is a wizard. As some attacks, you don't really care about that. You have the Deep Thinker's Rule again. Then Realm Scribe, once about in your hero phase, instead of casting any spells with 1 friendly with this ability, roll a dice, add the number of the current battle round. On a 5+, pick a point anywhere on the battlefield. For the rest of the battle, do not take battle shock tests for friendly Lumineth Realm Lords units holding within 9 at that point, and add 1 to casting, dispelling, unbinding for wizards within 9. So it's quite good. Obviously, a bit strange because you need to use that later, but you probably want it early. So I don't know how good that ability is. Erasure is on an 8, 24. Pick enemy hero. Either cause D3 mortal wounds, or you can mark them. And if it's already marked, then they say 2d6 mortals. So basically you can cast it once, so I'm not going to do any damage, I'm going to mark you next turn. I'm now going to do the damage. So it's obviously over 2 turns. It's okay. I'm not sure. The Caligrave seems a little bit of a weird spot. There's 115 points, at least he's cheap. But yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I think I'd rather have another one of the heroes than him. Then you got the Lore Seeker, so got ranged attack, 6 wounds, 4 up save, bit better in combat. He's got the Deep Thinker's Rule. He gets +1 save rolls if he's more than 9 from all friendly units, and you do a scout move. So instead of setting the unit up on the battlefield, you can place it to one side, so it's set up as a lone agent. The end of deployment, before determining control of objectives, you set up all friendly lone agents more than 3 from all enemy units and not in your territory. And if you've set up a lonely agent reserve unit with 6 an objective that is not contested by other enemy units, that lone agent counts as 10 models for contesting that objective. So you can basically scout, pick an objective, take control of it. Pretty good. And obviously, like, there are ways to teleport like a unit of like Blade Lords near him to keep him alive. I think he's really cool. I love the Lore Seeker. And he's 160 points, and he's not unique, so pretty good. I like the fact they've changed the rule that you can't take it back to just he counts as 10 models. It's a lot cleaner and not quite so game breaking in some scenarios. So that's decent. So yeah, so Lore Seeker. So now we're into the big boys. So the Alarith Spirit of the Mountain. So these guys are, I really like these, but they've never really been that good. Got the Geometric Blast. There's 25-inch range, so it's decent. It's only 1 attack, but it's freeze 2's rend 2 damage d6, so pretty good. And it's got the World Hammer, 4 attacks, freeze 2's rend 2 damage 5. There's a significant amount of output. Cloven Hooves. If he doesn't make a charge, you can add 1 to the attacks of his melee weapons. And when he's targeted by an attack, if the weapon for attack has got a rend of 1, change it to nothing, because he's got Enduring as Rock. And obviously that can be better if you've taken the Alarith Dimetrica Temple. And then Stoneheart Shockwave. At the start of your opponent's shooting phase, at the start of the combat phase, you can pick 1 enemy unit within range of his Stoneheart Shockwave ability, which is 12 when he's not hurt. The range is on the damage table, subtract 1 from hit rolls. So yeah, good that it affects shooting as well. Then you've got Stone Mage Symbiosis. If his unit's within 12 of a friendly Stone Age, use the top row of his damage table, regardless how many wounds he's taken. Free up armor save's decent as well. He's got a command ability. At the start of your combat phase, the unit that receives must be an Alarith elf unit. Add one to the attacks of their melee weapons. This unit can do the command up to D3 times in the same phase. If it does so, no command points are spent on the second and third times the unit issues the command in that phase. Same unit cannot benefit. So basically, it's like you get the Iron Jaws thing, but it's a D3 rather than guaranteed 3 units. We've got the Stone Mage itself, which is movement 6, 5 wounds, 4 up save. It's a wizard. It's the Stone Mage stance. Start the combat phase, you can say the unit will adopt the Stone Mage stance. If you do, this unit and any friendly Stone Guard hollow within 12 cannot make piling moves. However, until the end of the phase, improve the rend of melee weapons used by this unit and the friendly units. So that's pretty good. He's got the Enduring as Rock rule. He doesn't fly, by the looks of it. And then he's got the Gravitic Redirection spell. On a 5, range of 18, if successfully cast to a next hero phase, the caster can fly. Oh, there you go. In addition, you can pick one enemy unit within range invisible. If you do so until the next hero phase, that unit's move is halved and it cannot fly. So kind of like grounds them and makes you floaty. So pretty good. It could be quite devastating in the right place. Then we got Stone Guard. How many points is he? And so how many points is the big cow is what I should do. Really, shouldn't I? So he is, for a behemoth, the Alarith Spirit of the Mountain is 380 points, obviously not a hero. And the Stone Mage, which is the Alarith Stone Mage, you at the top, is 120 points. And we're into Stone Guard now, which are 120 points battle line in your Metrica, and they're 5 models in the unit. So they've got 4-inch move, 2 wounds, 4 up save, 2-inch reach on the melee weapon, 1 on the paired hammers, which I think is the champion. And they've got 2 attacks, freeze, rend 1 damage, the same for both weapons. You can have a standard bearer for reroll battle shocks. They've got Enjoyer's Rock. There's a 4-up ward against mortal wounds while it's contested objective, which is really strong. And Crushing Blow. If the modified hit roll for an attack made by a melee weapon is a 6, causes 1 mortal wound in addition. So it looks like they've just standardized the weapons. They just do the same thing, which I guess is probably a good thing. I mean, I'm all for that. I mean, 2 attacks, freeze, rend 1 damage. And then they've got the Crushing Blow. So if you get a 6, it's a mortal wound in addition. So yeah, I quite like that they've just simplified that. 2-inch reach is big as well. Obviously you've got the paired hammers, which are 4 attacks, freeze, no rend, 1 damage, but they still got the rule because they've still got Crushing Blows. 4-up ward is decent if you're contesting an objective you control. They're very defensive. A lot of the stuff is if you get charged, they get better. So yeah, I mean, hopefully you'll see some Stone Guard. I think they make a nice anvil, to use like an old hammer term. Definitely good with the ward as well. Throw me a little bit of Phoenix Guard, but obviously not while you're being aggressive with them. So you've got Avlanor, the Stoneheart King, 16 wounds, 3 up save. He's got the blast. He's got damage 5 hammers, but he's got 6 attacks with these. He's got the same rules, which is all but immovable, Enjoyer's Rock. He's got Fire Steel hammers. So if your modified hit roll is a 6, it does a mortal wound in addition. You subtract 1 from hit rolls made by enemy units within range of his Guardians of his ability, which is 12 inches. So he's a very good defensive bubble as well. And he's got the Stone Mage Symbiosis, and he's got the Unshakable Faith of the Mountains. It's a command ability. Must be a friendly elf unit, and add 1 to the attacks of the unit's melee weapons until the end of the phase. And again, you could do it up to 3 times and no command points. So he's like he gets a guaranteed 3. And you know, he's 420 points. He's single. He's unique. He is a leader. So I think you know, the extra 40 points. He also comes with the. He does have a no. He doesn't. So I thought he might have a. I thought he might have a city keyword, but it doesn't look like he does. So yeah, that's decent. So you can see there, it's got Order Lumineth Alarith monster totem. So then we're into Eliana and Elafor. 8 wounds, 3+ save. These guys were quite a lot of special rules in the past. A 2-cast wizard. +1 to cast, dispel, and unbind. You can be called as an ally in an order army, basically. And if this unit's within 3 inches of the general on a 4+, you get an extra command point. But this unit can't be the general, so basically they kind of advise. Then you've got the damage characteristic of Alatari is equal to the number of the current battle round. That's 4 attacks, so later in the game it does more damage. In addition, once per battle in your shooting phase, you can say that he will unleash a blazing sunbolt, pick a point in the battlefield within 12, visible, draw a line, roll a dice for each unit that has any models cast across, on a 2+, take a number of mortal wounds equal to the battle round. So again, better later on in the game. Sudden translocation, enter the combat phase, roll a dice if the unit fought. If it's less than the number of battle round or less than the number of wounds allocated to this unit, you can heal D6 wounds, remove it from the battlefield, and set it up again more than 12 from enemy units. If it's impossible, it's removed from play but does not count as being destroyed. So quite interesting. And then you've got Salvation of Hish. There's a spell that can casting value on a 6. Caster's got a ward 5 up into a next hero phase. So quite an interesting duo. These models, I quite like these. The 260 points, unique single character, decent amount of combat output, some nice special rules, a 2-cast wizard, so pretty good value, especially 8 wounds for a 3+ save, ability to heal, and obviously the longer the game goes on, so, and then the fact you can get some extra command points is decent as well. So you've got the Hurricane Wind Mage with Asparagus, movement 16, 5 wounds, 5+ save. He's a wizard. He's got the Fan of Redirection, which allows him to add 1 save rolls, and then on a 6, he bounces mortal wounds to a visible enemy unit within 9. He's got the Move Like the Wind, which is the pile-in thing. Now, I'm not sure reading this, and maybe it's just me, but it says when you make a pile-in move with the unit, it does not have to finish the move no further from the nearest enemy unit than it was at the start of the move. I don't know if that means you can pile in away or you don't have to go closer. I don't really understand what that means. I think the intention is you can pile in away from the enemy unit, but I reading it, I don't really get it. And it may be just me. I don't, the language of the move no further from the nearest, I don't understand that. So in addition, when you make a pile in, it can get some extra 3 inches. I think in the past they could pile in away from the enemy. I think that's what that means, but reading it, maybe it's just the use of English, I just don't understand it. Which is shocking as that's my first language, but there you go. Wind Leap, if the friendly wind charges unit starts a movement 6, this unit, when it makes that move, the unit has a move of 16 and can fly, so allows them to move faster. And you've got the wind charges, they've got a bow, 12-inch range, 2 shots, freeze, for 1/1 damage, 2 wounds, 5+ save, and it says there's the champion in there, and he gets +1 attacks with his bow. Got the reroll battle shock for the banner. Ward rolls cannot be made from wounds and mortal wounds caused by attacks made by missile weapons from this unit, which is really nice. Just no ward saves. They've got rend on their bows as well. And if you're playing Hellion and you're close, then you get an extra shot. And when it makes a move, it can pass across terrain the same as it can fly because they can bounce around like kangaroos. And they've got the same rule, move like the wind. Yeah, someone could let me know in the comments below. I don't get it. Maybe I'm just being stupid, but I'm on my own and I've got no one to bounce off the idea with. So there you go. And then the wind charges are 150 points, and I think the wind mage is 120. So. Yeah, they all seem quite cheap compared to what they were. I think these are a little bit more expensive. I can't remember. I've put my book up in the loft actually, so I haven't got access to it. We've got Severith, 24-inch range move. Wow, 10 wounds, 5+ save. Severith, he is 320 points. He's unique. 18-inch range shot, 4 shots, 2s, 3s, rend free, damage D3, significant. 5-up ward, roll a dice each time an enemy unit is within 3 of this unit. After the unit makes a charge move on a 3+ unit takes a mortal wound to subtract 1 from hit rolls. The same unit cannot be affected by more than once per phase. Yeah, so when you charge, you do that. Move like the wind. When you make a piling wound, that's the same. So I guess that's the same, that you can pile in away. That's what they used to be able to do. I'm assuming that's what it means. Scour at the end of the enemy charge phase. At the end of the charge phase, you can pick this unit to carry out the Smash to Rebel Monstrous Rampage, even though it's not a monster. And then he's got Searing Desert Winds. After the unit makes a normal move, including if it moves at the end of the shooting phase, pick an enemy unit. There's any models it's passed across on a 3+, it takes D3 mortal wounds. At the end of your shooting phase, so not the shooting phase, so it's only in your turn, it can make a normal move or retreat of 12 inches. It cannot run. In addition, the unit can retreat and still charge. So it's good. Like, you can't pin him down. He can retreat, charge. He's got a good weapon. He could do mortal wounds. He's fast. 5-up save, 10 wounds. I think he used to have a healing ability, which is gone, which will probably make him a lot squishier. And obviously you can't move in your opponent's shooting phase, which I think he's probably a little bit overcosted. Obviously the Smash to Rebel is really good because of his speed. So if you're playing against Beastmen and stuff like that, you can just pop over the top and smash it down, especially with an extra move in their turn and stuff like that. So you should be able to get to anything if they leave a gap. Then you've got the Hurricane Spirit of the Wind, which is a leader, not unique. So you can have artifacts and traits, I believe. Or he hasn't got the hero keyword, but he's a leader. Is he a leader? Yeah, said he's a leader, 250 points. There you go. But doesn't have the hero keyword. Okay, pass. So 8 wounds, 5-up save. He's got 4 shots, 2s, 3s, rend 2 damage D3. So it's not as rendy as Severus. And then he's got a ward of 5-up. He's got the Living Cyclone rule. He's got the Move Like the Wind rule, and he's got the Spirit of the Wind rule. So he's basically similar. Doesn't do the mortal wounds. Can't kick stuff over. He's cheaper. Not sure. Yeah, he's okay. So you've got Mari Lightcaller. It's a wizard. Got the Deep Thinkers rule. Got the Scry Owl familiar, which allows you to add 1 to cast, unbind, dispel. In addition, at start your hero phase, start your shooting phase, pick an enemy unit within 24. And is not visible. They're now visible. Dazzling Light is spell cast on 6, range of 6. To basically subtract from hit 1 for hit rolls that target the caster, subtract 1 for hit rolls for attacks made by missile weapons that target other units wholly within range of the caster. So it's like a little bubble of -1, which is quite nice. And he comes with his little purifier unit. They're guardians, so they can bounce wounds. If a modified hit roll for attack is a 6, it's a mortal wound. The attack sequence ends, and they've got, so it's basically like they're kind of a Sun Metal rule rolled up. Interestingly, because they're D3 damage to the attacks. So do you really want to do that? Obviously, it's the Underworld's warband, so I think they rock in at 235, so quite expensive. Not sure you see them play very much, but yeah, not too bad. So we're on to the end of spells now. I just having a rethink about that Move Like the Wind rule. So it says when you make a piling move, it does not have to finish the move no further from the enemy. So basically, it can move away from the enemy when it piles in. It's a really confusing way of wording that. I think it's just saying that I think it's a double negative rather than just saying what you can do. It makes it clunky to read. Anyway, sorry about that. I got a little bit mixed up there. Then we got the Haitian Twin Stones, which is a spell on a 5, range of 6. So it says a spell wholly within range, invisible to the caster, more than 1 from all models train, other objectives and invocations. After this endless spell is summoned, place a dice with the 1 besides it. Each time a wizard within 12 casts of this other spell is not unbound, cast a spell. Increase the value of the dice by 1 to a maximum of 6. Before a Lumineth Realm Lords wizard within 12 of this endless spell attempts to cast a spell, the wizard's commanding player can say they withdraw the power of the Twin Stones, and they can add the value of the dice besides the endless spell to the casting roll. Then after that, the effect of the spell is resolved. The endless spell is removed from play. So basically, it ticks up, gives you a bonus to cast. Now, I think what it used to do, it used to stay there. So it was always giving you +1 to cast on everyone. Now it's like it doesn't. As soon as you use it, you remove the spell. So significantly weaker than it was. I might be wrong. I might be misremembering. 50 points. So still good if you want to get to that clutch spell. Then you've got the Sanctum of Amnatok. Has 3 parts. It is summoned on a 7, range of 3 inches. Sets a spell wholly within range, more than 3 from all models' terrains in just blah 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 blah. Then parts of the spell must be set up touching each other so they form a ring with the caster inside. A wizard in a garrison cannot cast a spell. It's all about garrisoning. If the model that summoned the end spell is removed from play, then the spell is removed from play. While the endless spell is on the battlefield, the model that summoned it cannot move. While the endless spell is on the battlefield, range and visibility to and from the model are measured to and from the endless spell. So it's almost like you set up a little garrison of the endless spell. And it's got the Sigil of Yinga, subtract 1 from hit rolls and add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target the model that summoned the endless spell while the endless spell is on the battlefield. In addition, at the end of the combat phase, if this model that summoned this endless spell was targeted by an attack in that phase, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches of this endless spell. On a 1 to 3, nothing happens. 4 to 5, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 6, they take D3 mortal wounds. I just don't think you're going to take that. It's just a lot of words to basically give you. It's like a shield. You deploy it around your wizard. That becomes your wizard's base. And then if you get a bonus to your save, and you get -1 to hit, and then if they hit it, then it does damage back. I mean, it's okay. It's 50 points though. So you have to bear with me with this book, because a lot of it's written in a very wordy way, and actually it's quite simplistic what it's trying to say, but it doesn't say it in a simple term. Then you've got the Rune of Petrification. So summoning is cast on an 8, range of 18. It successfully casts at the end of spell, blah, blah, blah. Only Lumineth wizards could do it, blah, blah, blah. Turn to stone at the start of the movement phase and at the end of the movement phase. Roll a dice for each unit within 6 of the spell. On a 4+, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So at the start of the movement phase and at the end of the movement phase. So that's your turn and their turn. On a 4+, it doesn't affect Realm Lord units. They take D3 mortal wounds in addition to subtract 1 from run and charge rolls for units within 6. So you could hit the enemy like 4 times, because you could put it next to a unit and go, well, you take the start of the movement phase, then the end of the movement phase, it might go, and you haven't moved. Then the start of the movement phase, they haven't moved. And then the end of the movement phase, they are not that fast, they might be able to get away, and they take it again. So it's quite nice. I mean, it does quite a lot of damage. So you might see that played. I think it's cheap, it's 40 points. That's actually going to probably see some play. Because the amount of damage output that can give is, I mean, it's only on a 4+, but you roll so many dice that, yeah, it's pretty decent. 40 points. So I think you'll see that in play for sure. Then you've got the Shrine Luminor. After territory is determined, set up this faction terrain. It's defensible. Can only be garrisoned by 1 hero, not a monster, and does not have a mount. Then you have the Shrine Guardian. So you can issue a command without a command point being spent. It's got cleansing rituals. Once per turn, you can reroll 1 cast, dispel, or unbind for 1 Lumineth Realm Lords hero within 12 of this feature. If this feature has a Shrine Guardian, increase the range to 24. So it's quite nice that you can do it without someone in it, but if you have someone in it, you get that. But you just get the command point for having a garrison, so you're not so bothered about garrisoning it. But yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, you get it for nothing, so you can't complain. So that's the Lumineth Battletome. I think they've simplified a lot of the abilities, like not being once per game. They've tidied up the wizard rules on the units, brought it up into AOS 3. I don't think they've got very good grand strategies. Some of the battle tactics are okay, and you need 1 or 2 of those to be competitive, in my opinion. You know, the rules are fairly decent. Honestly, the Sentinels have had the edge taken off. I still think there's a lot of strong options in the book. Loads of mortal wound output, very strong magic, which is what they should be about, really. I think the Light of Aetherion is probably the biggest, most exciting change. Maybe that and the Stone Guard with the Alarith stuff. Yeah, definitely good. I'm interested to see if like a very strong martial or melee heavy army could be competitive. I hope so. I definitely don't think you need tech lists to be competitive, so it'd be good to see some different lists kicking around. I know Les was playing with Alarith list, Geometrica, back in the early days, so he switched over to Sire. So I'd like to see if we start seeing those units on the table again, because we don't really see them. With Lumineth, it's only like 1 or 2 builds, and that's it. It's good to see the foxes change, so you can't move in your opponent's turn. I still think the Rune of Petrification is very strong. Twin Stones has been nerfed. I don't think Sanctum's very good, but I think Rune is decent. But that's the only one you really saw anywhere. I think that and Twin Stones. Decent. Obviously, you've got the changes to the Law Seeker. So for me, a lot of the changes have been to take away the I'm breaking the core rules. I don't need to see you to shoot you. You know, you can't take the objective off me because the guy stood there. You have to attack this model even though you're next to the other model, and you can't attack it because you can't pile in. All that kind of jank has gone. You still got the Hellion stuff being able to pile in away from you, which is fine because that's kind of their rule, right? And that's okay. But I think it's an interesting take on the Battletome. Brought it up to date. I think you've got a couple good battle tactics in there, which is always useful. I really like the idea of seeing a mountain list. Some really nice things. I think the Star Shard Ballistas might see some play as well. Light of Aetherion again is my favorite thing in the book now, so I think that's a really nice buff to that unit, and I think you will see him a lot. He's cool. He's just a cool model. I just like the idea of this one-man wrecking crew. So let me know what you think below. You could like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to be on the premiere because I'm currently at FACEHAMMER running the event. We will be doing Battletome reviews for the follow-up books coming, as they've been announced on Warhammer Community. Just keep your eye on the channel, subscribe if you want to catch any of the other videos. So sorry for the kind of rushed, unprepared nature of this one. We've kind of had to slot this in amongst other stuff, getting ready for the event this weekend. So hopefully you've still enjoyed it. It's been useful, and we'll catch you all in the next one. See you all again soon.